This morning, whether you have noticed or not, has been all about service. The ways we serve. We thank our veterans who have served so bravely. We thank the kids who serve as an example as we fill these brown bags to bring them back next Sunday. And now we celebrate. We celebrate in a very special way in which this congregation of the Endwell United Methodist Church has served its community for 20 years with its ministry of the Monday night dinners, the Lord's table. And over the next few moments, we're going to celebrate, and we're going to let the Spirit go wherever the Spirit's going to go this morning. And I want to allow a few people who have been so instrumental in this ministry to share what they want to share and to recognize those who have served so faithfully. And so at this time, it is a great honor and a great privilege that I would like to invite Jim and Elaine Hilton to come forward and to share some of their reflection. They, along with a few others that will be mentioned, were the key people who began this ministry 20 some odd years ago. And so I would like to invite Jim and Elaine to come forward, and would you please welcome them as they come forward.
Good morning. Good morning. It's great to be back in this place that was our church home for, I think, 25 years. We've been gone for 12 maybe, so there's a lot of new faces, but a lot of friends that we've known for a long time. Not old friends, but friends we've known. We're here to also celebrate that wonderful ministry that you folks have awesomely continued since we left. I added up, it's 20 years obviously. We were only here for 7 of those years, I think. So you've done twice as long. I'm a math major, so I like numbers. You've continued twice as long as we were part of this thing. And I think that speaks a lot for the people that continued from the beginning to the end. I'll eventually name some names. Don't feel left out. I intentionally don't want to start naming names. There's so many people that were involved, and you know that too. Behind me, so I gotta be careful. And I know Dave Alexander told part of the history of the first service, so if you stayed over, please stop listening. Because our histories might not jive. We're both pretty old. Exactly. He stayed. In July of 1995, a white-haired fellow named Gomer showed up to lead us. Along with him came an associate minister named Adams, Nancy, in case you're new to the organization. My recollection is they didn't show up on July 1st, which is the traditional time for Methodist clergy to start the new appointments. Now this is where it gets hazy because my wife doesn't agree, but I think they showed up a week late. Does anybody remember? I think they came back from Zimbabwe. Is that whatever? They showed up late. Okay, it's a better story if they came all the way from Africa. But I'm thinking, who are these people? You know, they're traveling from wherever they were from. But Chuck was definitely involved in the Zimbabwe partnership when our conference, the old Wyoming conference, did that. And I thought, what is going to happen here? Who are these people? And it didn't take long to find out if you knew Chuck. Within a few months, Chuck had rescued, I think it was about the last 3 years of Lenten and Advent offerings, which had been not spent, but put into the general fund. Chuck saw that right off, as most ministers can spot those kind of things, and challenged us as a missions committee to start investing those funds, which we did. Then change was starting to happen in this church, and I went back because I couldn't remember. And in the missions committee minutes of April 1996, we wrote, Pastor Gomer reported the need for more community dinners to supplement the 3 already sponsored during the week by the Endicott Endwell churches. And it was noted that the Endwell Church UMW was assisting Sarah Jane Johnson and their meals that they were doing on the 3rd Tuesday of each month. Okay, that's April. So we brought up the idea. A month later in May, Pastor Gomer suggested that we continue to consider whether we would be willing to expand our support of the community lunches and dinners that are held 3 times in local churches. First Church Endicott, Sarah Jane Tuesday evening. First Church Saturday noon, they did lunch. Sarah Jane Tuesday evening, Centenary Thursday evening. There's a definite need for a meal every day of the week. Any of you that knew Chuck knew his suggestions, don't you know, were followed or should be followed by action right away. So we decided we better start moving. So that was May, and by January 97, we had been in touch with several churches, and I didn't put it in my notes, but one of them was First Presbyterian in Binghamton. We're doing dinners too, and we went down there, I think, to talk to some of those folks. Everywhere we went, we were very supportive, and everybody said, you can do this. And finally, January 97, we had visited Central in Endicott, who were also doing a dinner. And they were very helpful. I think we watched them prepare and maybe even serve. Then in June, Pastor Ken Wood, who's the pastor there then, came here for an organizing meeting where 8 people volunteered to captain 4 teams and provide the leadership for the dinners. And on September 29th, 1997, a nervous bunch of team captains opened the doors and welcomed the first guests. We worried that we might not have advertised enough. There were a number of these dinners going on, and we didn't have Facebook back then, if you can believe, 20 years ago. But we did the best we could, posting signs at the various dinners. But we were still a little nervous. And I don't remember exactly what the first night was, but in October's Spotlight article, we reported the first 3 weeks we had served over 150 meals. So we were pretty happy about that. That was September. January to September, I think the trustees had been in a slight upgrade of the kitchen, not like has happened in the last few years that I witnessed this morning. And we're painting cupboards and put some new tables in. And at the same time, we had to be inspected, of course, by the Board of Health, which had never been done by this church. And I don't know if Sarah Jane still does, but they weren't inspected, and we didn't know anything about this, but we were told we needed to get inspected. 2 people in particular, and I hate to start naming names, but they were instrumental, Tom and Judy Clark, raised their hands and said that they would follow through to see that we learned about what we were supposed to be doing. Training was minimal back in those days. What I hear today, you have to go through to get through 3 inspections from the groups that are participating and supporting the dinners, including the Board of Health. They followed through, got training, came back, trained us, and then we started. And it wasn't the first time that Judy Clark had raised her hand and got her husband to participate. When some of you remember, we settled the Tunovich Bosnian family. And I remember the meeting I was telling Tom this morning in the fireplace room. We had a few people that were interested in doing refugee resettlement, but we didn't have any real leaders. We needed someone to go out and look for housing, which in Endicott at the time was 2 places probably. But this angel in the back raised her hand, and that's when I met Judy Clark. And she and Tom followed through on that project, and then years later, probably 7, I think, we started the Lord's Table dinners, and there they were again. An early list of team assignments showed over 60 volunteers involved in the direct planning, procurement, preparation, serving, and cleaning up chores. Many, many more, as you know, were involved with monetary and canned goods donations. We had cans, I think anybody remember? Donation cans for money. It looked some old, I think we ran the whole thing on $600 a year, and we actually made it through. We were in the black the first 3 years, and I don't know the rest of the records went. And we did ask for can donations. People brought a lot of number 10 cans of whatever the need was at the time. Many, many people involved. The first team captains, Tom and Judy Clark, Elaine Hilton, Janet Van Hoosen, Pat DeLeek, Helen Story, who helped Pat in her 80s, I think, at the time, Laura and Tom Jones. Not long after, Gene Sanford, and I think Kathy's there, by the way, Kathy Hatton, agreed to lead the 5th Sunday, or the 5th Monday nights when those occurred, which were every month, of course. To me, one of the most surprising and great results of the dinners were the small group ministries that occurred within each of these teams. It's a big church, 2 services, people sit up on the left and the front, the back and the right. You don't meet people. Well, these teams were a way, and we talked about this for years, how do we get small groups together? Well, these teams were one of the ways. I know, speaking for Team 2, and Elaine will tell a little bit more about that, we were a family. We became a small family, and we shared joys, sorrows, teasing, whatever it was. And I believe that was probably one of the more important things. Even the serving was good, but to get to know people and strengthen the church through those small groups meant a lot more. After completing the 6th year, in 2003, we estimated that over 14,000 meals had been served by our dinners. Now, after 20 years, that number would surely be at least 45,000 meals, rough estimate. But we didn't start with a plan on how to serve 45,000 meals. We started by serving 45 meals on a Monday night in September 1997. Thank you.
These are my notes. We already said a little bit of what's on here, so rest assured. I don't think we talked about comfort zones in 1997. That's something relatively new. In 1997, my comfort zone was down there, playing the organ before this wonderful remodeling happened. And I was comfortable there, doing my thing every Thursday night and Sunday, and for 22 years I played the organ here. And my other big comfort zone for me was the United Methodist Women, especially the Deborah Circle. Don't lose that. A lot of memories. And the craft group for the bazaars, I would do that happily. Help somebody else make crafts at Barb Chuckle's house, or bake cookies for the rummage sale bake sales. That was my thing. Don't talk to me about making a big meal. I like family dinners and things, but I heard about this idea that there's a need in the community, and I recognized that. I visited along with Jim and the missions people, the other churches, and it was suggested, we're going to need people to head this up. And That's not my comfort zone. I'll help. Well, it wasn't too long before I found out, okay, I guess I'm a team leader. And you expand your recipe. We did rice and chicken or rice and turkey, whichever was available from Room Bounty or wherever. From the wonderful donations, people did bring in those big cans. And I met someone I hadn't known before. It was Janet Van Hoosen. We were co-captains along with our husbands, Rodney and Jim. And quite a team, and again, I'm not brave to start naming names, except Dietz was one of them, David Dietz. I have photos, I have a photo album that's down in the fellowship hall if you want to take a look at some of those. We got some pictures from those days. Anyway, there were tense moments. Is the rice really going to be done at the appointed hour? And there was fun, and as Jim said, we became like a family. Most of our team, I hadn't known them before, and we came together every second Monday, right? Team 2, yes. And I know that the other teams felt the same way. There still is a need in the community, I believe. Apparently there is. They're still coming. And sometimes it's lonely people we found were coming. And maybe they had food at home in their kitchens, but they didn't have anyone to sit with and have a meal with. So it provided that. So I found that that was sort of my comfort zone after all, we all worked together to do that. And I've been taught from childhood, we all have a talent to do something. It might be washing the dishes, or maybe chopping onions, or it might be coming up with a recipe, or just a commitment to do something, whatever you can do. And I would encourage anyone who's thinking, that's not my thing, to reconsider and consider that we can all do something to carry on the Lord's Table Dinners. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to invite one of the chair people of the missions team, and that is Diet Minnerly, to come and take us to the next part of this celebration.
Good morning. Good morning. And this is where I say how prepared I am. Peter, if you could project the pictures that I sent of the teams, that would be great. Thank you. My name is Diet Minnerly. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Mission Committee. And I'd like to thank you for coming today to celebrate 20 years of service by the Lord Tables volunteers, this year's Jim Hilton Award recipients. According to records from Broome County, in 2016, 4,420 meals were served, 728 volunteer hours worked, and over 9,600 pounds of food were received from Broome Bounty. This is an average of 85 meals per week. So far in 2017, 4,459 meals have been served, 1,078 volunteer hours have been worked, 12,250 pounds of food have been received by Broome Bounty. At this rate, an average of 103 meals will be served per week. So there is still a need in our area. To honor all the volunteers, I went to take photos of the weekly teams. At every dinner, I heard the same comment: "This is not our whole team. People are missing." This made me think about those volunteers who were not in the pictures I took. Those volunteers who started the Lord's Table 20 years ago, the Hiltons. Thank you so much for making the trip to celebrate with us. The Van Husens, the Clarks, the Jones, Pat DeBleek, Helen Story, Kathy Hatton, and the list goes on and on. The current volunteers, those that rack the silverware, make dessert, clean the pantry, and of course, all of you who support the Lord's table through your pledges. The teenagers from Maine Endwell High School who have worked numerous hours serving beverages. The volunteers of 15 other churches in Broome County that now serve meals on other days of the week. Working together, we are part of a network providing a free meal to anyone in need every day of the week in our community. And finally, the future volunteers who will carry this mission on for the next 20 years. This past month, I had the opportunity to work with Jody Butts and her lovely daughter, Jordan. As I watched Jody coaching Jordan at the drink station, I was touched by witnessing the joy of mission work as it was handed from one generation to another. 20 years ago, I was sitting right where you are, excited to hear about a new mission project that needed volunteers. I had not yet joined the church, but I wanted to be a part of this project. My husband and I began by helping on the second Monday of the month. He washed dishes and I served on the line. We both came after work, 5 o'clock to 6:30, once a month for a few hours. I had the privilege of working with many wonderful people, to serve many wonderful people. Now, 20 years later, still on the second Monday after work, I put away the freshly washed dishes. The Lord's table is looking for volunteers. There are many ways to help. If you're busy on Monday, guess what? You can wrap silverware, help make dessert, clean out the refrigerator, those darn due dates, expiration dates, organize the pantry, and the list goes on and on. Please give some prayerful consideration and then see me or Dave Alexander if you would like to help. Since I was asked to speak, I've been searching for the right word to capture my feelings about this exciting mission project. Yesterday at Church Charge Conference, it came to me. I'm thankful. Thankful for all the volunteers, past, present, and future. Thankful to be a small part of the Endwell United Methodist Church Lord's Table. Thankful to be a service to our community. And thankful to be a member of such a giving church. Sorry. I want to remind everyone to please join us at the reception in the fellowship hall following the service. Lots of cake and goodies for you. At this time, I would like to ask anyone who's volunteered for the Lord's table to please stand. Past, present, or maybe you're going to do it in the future. I'd like to ask Howard Champlain and Dave Alexander, as representatives of the Lord Table's volunteers, to come forward and accept the plaque. And could all of you please join me in expressing our gratitude to this year's Jim Hilton Award recipients, the Lord's Table.
I really don't know what's left to say after Jim and Elaine and DeEtte spoke, because they covered everything that I've been thinking about since I was asked to speak earlier this week. First of all, what a blessing it is to have Jim and Elaine here. Some of you know I get emotional when I speak, and when I speak about Jim, I get emotional. I had the privilege of succeeding Jim as the chair of the missions team when he and Elaine retired and moved off away. And while I was the chair of the missions team, that's when we created the Jim Hilton Award. For two reasons. To thank Jim for his inspiration in leading this church and those of us on the missions team at the time in understanding how important mission work is. I can't begin to tell you how important mission work is to me and everybody who served on that mission team and everybody who served on these Monday night dinner teams. And the second reason we created it was to thank you, the people who actually are responsible for the work getting done, the people who give the money. I'm going to read the names of the recipients because Deanna, where is this going? Down in the office hallway? This plaque lists all the winners, or the recipients, I don't want to say winners, recipients of the Jim Hilton Award. Roger Richards, Janet and Rodney Van Heusen, the United Methodist Women, me, God knows why, the EUMC Youth Group, Larry Vesley, Dave Alexander, Tom and Laura Jones, Diana Miner, Bev Scudder, Linda Peterson, and the Lord's Table volunteers. What a marvelous group of people they are, but what a marvelous group of people you are. Because through your giving and of money and time and goods, none of this could have happened. 20 years of ministry through the Lord's Table. For those of you who've been here a long time, that's before we renovated this place. October of 97, we didn't do the renovation until the summer of 99. That's how long we've been doing this, to put some perspective on it. And so, just to wrap this up, I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you, to all the volunteers, and to just this congregation, this church, for being so supportive of what turned out to be a very vital ministry here in Endwell and in the Southern Tier. Thank you.
I would just like to add a couple of cents. We really need volunteers to help. We have a lot of people who, especially as the winter months come, they decide they want to go someplace warm, so they go to Florida. I'm not going to mention, I can look at one couple back there that are cooks, and they're giving up on us. We've asked them to fly back every morning, but they said no. So, we need people. You can fold silverware on a Sunday during the week. It doesn't matter when. We have two young ladies that, at least for Team 2, make the desserts for that team. We could have other people doing the same thing. I make, twice a week I fill out a form from Broom Bounty. And I didn't go through what happened, but originally the team leaders back 20 years ago used to go to Broom Bounty, first come, first serve. They got whatever they wanted to take and brought it back here. It doesn't happen anymore. I spend Wednesday afternoon filling out a order form. I get sent up to the Broome County Council of Churches for Broome Bounty Chow. Friday at 9 o'clock I have to go up. Usually there's 2 shopping carts for me that are marked with Endwell United Methodist Lord's Table, and I bring the food back here. They also have a lot of free food pallets of stuff that they just brought in, so we get to go through that and bring it back. I've tried to build a better rapport with them, and we've been very lucky. Over the past couple of months, one Monday night we had 3 full pallets of food brought to us. 1 pallet of rolls, 1 pallet of all types of dessert, and another pallet of frozen dinners. And we'd already planned what we were going to cook that night, but I got hold of, it had to be Jody's night, and I said, Jody, I've got all this food, you got to do something with it. And of course, that happened to be the night that the health department came in to do an inspection, so she happened to have the person's kids in school, so that really helped, you know. I guess she told them that she'd make sure they got a better grade, I don't know, but we passed. But
she used a lot of the stuff and we gave the rest away. So that's one of the things we try to do. We're now offering, last Monday night we had someone from Fidelis Care come in. They met with everybody, talked about Medicare, different things to help them come up with insurance. I brought in people from Broome County Social Services and the Mental Health Department to talk to these people. We have a lot of people that aren't necessarily in need. They're people who are lonely. They're, a spouse has died, they have no place to go, and they want to be with someone. We also have people who are really in need that come. We have people who come with young children. We can average around 20 kids on a Monday night. And we've gone from maybe 50 people, and I think a couple of weeks ago we had close to 100 here. So, I mean, we really go through, depending. It's very difficult on what I give a lot of credit to the cooks because you don't know how much to prepare, but they always come through and have enough food for everybody. We have opted not to give seconds. We give everybody a healthy portion. And then I think is better than trying to say you go back numerous times because we see too much waste. So we're trying to be a little more controlling of what we're doing. But we need a lot more help. I'm getting tired of doing some of the things that I'm doing. We could use more people to help, maybe go to Broome Bounty, do some of these things. These are all important tasks that make our dinner a success. So if anybody's very interested, see DeEtte or myself, there's always something to do. We've lost a lot of the students from Maine Endwell because they have a different advisor and they're not really sending us the youth that we used to have from Key Club. So, it's harder and harder to have people doing beverages and doing some of the cleanup and everything. Whatever you can do, we'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Praise God for the first 20 years. For those who sat in those rooms and had an idea. The question now before us is, are we ready for the next 20? Today has all been about serving. Thank you to our veterans. Thank you for those who will fill bags this week. And thank you for the ministry we call Monday night dinners, the Lord's table. We thank all of you for being such a generous congregation who almost every single time goes above and beyond. Because friends, we're all about Matthew 25. Lord, when did I see you hungry? When did I see you thirsty? When did I see you naked? When did I see you imprisoned? As you did unto the least of these my brethren, you have done unto me. Let's celebrate. Let's stand and sing together as we turn to hymn number 581, and let's sing, Lord, whose love